My name is Barb Ferguson. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of the Holland area. I welcome you to tonight's candidate forum on behalf of the League. We are proud to offer this opportunity for the voters of Saugatuck to learn more about the candidates who are running for the Saugatuck City Council in the November general election. We'd like to thank Saugatuck Public Schools for allowing us to use this space tonight. The League of Women Voters, the sponsors of tonight's forum, is a strictly non-partisan organization that encourages informed and active civic engagement. The League never supports nor opposes individual candidates. For more information about the League, including membership, please check our website. One of the League's most important goals is to assist voters in making informed choices at the polls. Therefore, we bring you tonight's candidate forum. The League provides this forum as an opportunity for the candidates to express their views related to their candidacy. Statements expressed by the candidates are not endorsed nor opposed by the League. Also, the League does not certify any candidate's responses to the questions as accurate. Voters are encouraged to fact-check information shared at the forum. The format of the forum has been established by the League of Women Voters and was received, reviewed, and agreed upon by each one of the candidates. A forum is not a debate. It is a forum in which all candidates respond to each of the questions. 7 candidates are running for 4 open seats on the Saugatuck City Council. All of the positions are nonpartisan. All of the candidates for the Saugatuck City Council were invited to participate, and we're excited they all agreed. The candidates are Helen Baldwin, Scott Dean, Joseph Leonatti, Gregory Muncey, Chris Peterson, Lauren Stanton, and Sherry Tedaldi. Our moderator for the forum is League member Penny Shuff. Our timekeeper is League member Gloria Goodwin. Excuse me, Gloria. Questions for the candidates have been gathered from the public and from League members. Now at this time, I ask everyone to please turn off your cell phones and other electronic devices. No cameras or recorders are permitted other than those authorized by the League. This program is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel in a few days. There's a link to the YouTube channel on our website. That's probably the easiest way to find it. Up in the left-hand corner of our homepage, there's the icon for YouTube, and if you click on that, it'll take you right to our YouTube channel. The video is the property of the League of Women Voters of the Holland area. Neither video nor audio clips may be copied, edited, or used for any political advertising or other purposes. We ask the members of the audience to listen respectfully and to refrain from any comments or remarks as the candidates are speaking. There will be an opportunity to applaud the candidates at the end of the forum. Our moderator, Penny Shuff, will now outline the format, review the rules, and lead tonight's forum. Penny?
Thank you all for being here.
Can you hear? This mic's kind of funny.
Good evening. My name is Penny Shuff, and I will be your moderator for this evening. Right off the bat, I reside in the city of Holland, so I cannot vote in this election, and the League does that on purpose. Before we get started, I would like to thank our League President, Barb Ferguson, and all the wonderful volunteers who made tonight possible. The League relies on volunteers to make this important event happen, and we appreciate this as a service to our democracy. All the candidates have received, as Barb said, and reviewed the rules and have agreed to abide by them all. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, and then they will have 90 seconds for their response during the question and answer portion. Each candidate will also have 2 minutes for a closing remark. And as we mentioned, Gloria will be in the front with a 30-second sign indicator, and then there will be a stop indicator for the candidates to finish. And this will be strictly enforced by me. The questions were solicited on the League of Women Voters website and our Facebook page. The League also prepared some questions, and people wrote some today. There are several candidates here, so you have to be aware that we will only be able to get through so many. Comments or questions of a personal nature will not be allowed, and I, as the moderator, reserve the right to end the discussion or to change the topic. This is a forum and not a debate, as Barb said, so we'll get started. The order of who was to speak was determined by alphabetical order, and by the candidate's last name, and then we will rotate thereafter, so that everyone gets a chance to be first in answering questions. So the first opening statement will be from Helen Baldwin at the end.
Good evening. Thank you for attending, and a big thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting. I believe I know most everyone here, but for those of you I haven't met, I'm Helen Baldwin, and I currently serve the City of Saugatuck as Mayor Pro Tem and Chair of the Parks and Public Works Committee. It's been a busy couple of years. When I first decided to run 2 years ago, my stated priorities were to maintain strong financial position, address STR regulations and density, and build out a robust parks and recreation plan. And where are we? We are among the strongest municipalities in the state of Michigan with a cash reserve of approximately 1 full year's budget. We overhauled our fee and fine structure to fully capture the cost of city services, most notably as they relate to STR investors, got those expenses off the backs of our residents. We increased the parking fee for non-residents at Oval Beach to create additional revenue to maintain and enhance our parks and green space. Regarding short-term rentals, we finally got common sense rules and regulations, not just for noise and trash, but occupancy, parking. Importantly, we were able to establish a 20% cap in R1 low-density residential zones to strike a thoughtful balance between having abundant lodging for tourists with the need for sustainable neighborhoods. Our newly established Parks and Public Works Committee replaced a dilapidated playground with brand new structures that honor Saugatuck's past while being inclusive for children of all ages and physical capabilities. The PPW pioneered the opening of what is currently known as the airport property for public hiking and exploration while securing private donations to fully cover all the costs. Further, the committee pulled through plans to renovate both the bathrooms and the upper deck at Mount Baldhead. I could go on and on, but you get the point. In short, I think I've demonstrated the desire, the competence, the optimism, and the energy it takes to better our city. I hope you see fit to give me the opportunity to continue. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming, and thank you to the League for hosting. I'm a native Michigander, U of M grad. I served in the Army National Guard, and I now work for the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. I've served 4 years as councilman, mayor pro tem, and also as mayor here in Saugatuck. I live here on the hill with my wife and my youngest daughter, who goes to school right here. We didn't move here with the intention of being active in city politics. We came here for this wonderful school. But that all changed for me in 2020 when I learned that several of our former leaders were opposing investment in our school district. Better known as the No Campaign, this group of former mayors, there's actually 3 here in the audience and 1 on stage with us. They worked for several years to defeat the bond proposal, which we finally passed and has now resulted in a better and safer school that we're in tonight. I found these former mayors' opposition to investment in our school one of many policy positions that are contrary to what I believe the Saugatuck voters value. We value a truly authentic American small town, a town with neighbors, with parks, with a school, with a sense of community. To preserve that delicate balance, I've made the following my top policy priorities: maintaining what is arguably one of the strongest financial positions of any municipality in the state, investing in infrastructure and parks while maintaining this financial discipline, updating and enforcing ordinances that protect our residential neighborhoods, our parks and public lands, and making sure everyone pays their fair share for city services and acts as a good neighbor. And that includes the #1 issue of this campaign, I believe, which is maintaining a 20% cap on short-term rentals in our residential neighborhoods. I look forward to discussing this and other issues with you, the voters, tonight.
Do me the honors and turn this on.
I believe it's on. There you go.
It doesn't work? It does work. All right, my name is Joe Leonatti. I came to Saugatuck in 1966. I purchased a home here in 1972 and moved here about 25 years ago. I mention this because it does give me historical perspective. I've watched the town grow from when I bought my home on Allegan Street, it was crushed stone. Now it's turned into this sophisticated community. But the real reason that I want to run for city council is because of the people in the community. When my wife became ill, I had people I didn't know come out of the woodwork and were so kind to me, and it's something I will never forget. So a change happens here and there, but I want to make sure that these changes are done in an intelligent manner. And people who come in here a year ago start dictating to everyone else, they really know better because they're superior people. No one in this council is smarter than anybody in this office. How I see the city council, the role of the city council is to work with the city manager. And you identify those goals that are important to the community. And then you work together to achieve those goals in the most cost-effective manner. Because people should understand that the money doesn't belong to the council. The money comes from the people who live here, the taxpayers. All right, to be worthy of your vote, I promise to do many things, but this will be the one I can squeeze in. If you ask me a question, I will get you an answer. I can't guarantee you'll like that answer, but you will be treated with the respect that a taxpayer has. I won't shake my head. I won't laugh at you. I won't giggle or chortle, because that is not respectful for who you are. If you have any doubts to what I'm alluding to, I suggest you look back at past city council meetings.
Stop, you need to stop now. The next person needs to. Gregory, it's your turn for no.
Oh, yours,
Thank
Greg.
you, Mr. Joseph.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see everyone's face, and thank you for being here. A lot of your faces, I see you at most of our meetings, so you see how things are. I'm seeing almost everybody here that I usually see at our Zoom meetings or at our meetings. And you all know with me, you're going to get experience, dedication, compassion with no particular agenda. I'm here to listen. I'm here to help. I'm here to create solutions and serve our community as a team with everyone else. I'm not here to tell you what I do, what I can do. I'm here to say what we can do. And when I say we, I mean council and I mean our citizens, by keeping our ears open and working together to find solutions. I'm a previous downtown brick and mortar business owner. I spent 15 years working with the Business Association and our local city government through facilitating events like Music in the Park, parades, new business grand openings, conducted surveys that we used to do with the city and share information with our city councils, previous city councils. 20 years of volunteering with local organizations such as Cow Hill Yacht Club, CBB events, and helping many nonprofit organizations throughout Saugatuck and surrounding communities. I'm the host of Saugatuck on Sunday on 92.7 The Van, where I've had so many business owners, community leaders from our tri-community area getting to know and establishing relationships with our neighbors as well, because I think Douglas and Saugatuck Township are valuable and their input is valuable as well. 8 years as an active SDABA member with SDABA, and then 6 years as administrator. I currently serve, and I've served 6 years as current Board of Transportation member, whereas the board has voted me as treasurer. Created lasting friendships with longtime residents, endorsed by 5 previous mayors and many community leaders. As many of you know, I'm not a politician. I don't give in to political maneuvers. However, I do embrace the character and history of our town through my proven dedication, as you have all seen the last 2 years. My commitment, my passion is quite clear.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Thank you. Okay, now we have
Chris Peterson.
Mr. Muncey, sorry.
Am I on?
Yes,
In
sure.
here, okay. Hi, I'm Chris Peterson. Again, thank you for doing this forum for us, and thank you for everybody coming. Ernie and I retired here 16 years ago, and in my previous life, I was a state senator. I spent a decade working for 2 governors as the Director of Health and Human Services. Since being here in Saugatuck, I've served on the Historic District Commission, the Planning Commission. I've been on the City Council, and I was mayor. And so people say, why are you doing this again? And why would we vote for you? Well, when you ask for somebody's vote and they give it to you, that's a gift. And if you're lucky enough to be elected, that is an honor, because people that don't even know you trust that you will work in their best interest. I don't see that happening with this city council. Voters have expectations of fiscal responsibility, not golden parachutes, transparency, no meetings behind closed doors with anonymous donors, no private agendas. They want their voices to be heard and be informed, and that's the council's job. People shouldn't have to go to meetings at 10 o'clock in the morning or read the minutes to find out what's going on. And finally, respect. No laughing at them, smirking, head shaking, eye rolling. I don't support the direction they are going. They've reduced by half the parking on the hill, no alternative plan. There are condos on the waterfront for the first time that the HDC was created specifically to stop, and they're first floor residential, which means they can close the boardwalk. STRs, 4 people devalue your home's value by 20% if you're in the R zone. If you have an STR investment property to pass on to your heirs, no transfers. You're mean-spirited and basically immoral to do that. If you are notified of a violation, you have 2 hours to fix it or your certificate can be suspended, and there is no appeal process. They are changing the dynamic of the town I love, and I just can't go along with that. I'm not negative, I'm the opposition, and I'd ask for your vote. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Lauren Stanton. I've been a full-time resident of the Saugatuck Douglas area since my oldest son was 3. He's since graduated from Saugatuck High School, and I currently have a senior at Saugatuck High, and I'll be an empty nester soon. I came here because I had a boat at Tower Marina, met a group of friends, and decided to move here. I made the commute to Grand Rapids, where I was a morning news anchor for 18 years and a reporter in Lansing prior to that. Getting up in the middle of the night for that job took its toll on me, and so my husband and I opened Retro Boat Rentals in Saugatuck in 2016 and expanded our operations there to include the old Boathouse waterfront restaurant, and we recently took over the Red Dot Cafe in Douglas, which we've operated for the past 2 years. I ran for Saugatuck City Council during the pandemic, and it was lessons learned from the cooperation of area business owners that inspired me to want to make a difference on City Council. I also wanted to protect and promote our schools. It's the reason I moved here. I wanted my kids to be in a small school district where I knew the parents and they'd have lots of opportunities to participate, and my kids are successful, well-rounded human beings because of this school district. This is my 4th year on City Council. I spent 1 year as Mayor Pro Tem and this last year as your mayor. This last year has been one of the most challenging. I don't enjoy politics, but I certainly do love this community, and I vow to continue to preserve and protect our neighborhoods, our schools, our public land and natural resources, all while promoting and enhancing our tourism economy. It is our bread and butter in town and my livelihood, but let's continue to strike the right balance for everyone.
My name is Sherry Tedaldi, and I am a longtime resident and homeowner in Saugatuck. My parents lived on Pleasant Street for many years. I have a duplex in the city, which I rent out. I have 3 sons, and I have 4.5 grandchildren. I have been involved in this community for many years. I started out being very active with the Waterfront Film Festival. I was one of their managers. We put together the Thursday night party and all of the movies that you enjoyed, and I sure do miss it. I was then approached to come to Cow Hill Yacht Club. I was on their board, and with my experience in running the Waterfront Film Festival Thursday night party, I was asked to put on Venetian Festival, which we did very successfully. The last year I put it on, I had actually retired 2 years prior to that, and we put the stage by the water, and we made all kinds of money because it was 2021, sort of the end of COVID. We did very well. Venetian Festival is a great time. I've also, my brother owns Secrets of Sweet Saugatuck, and he's involved with community as well. In my professional life, I'm a mortgage banker. Did you say you're a mortgage banker? Okay. For Fifth Third Bank, I've been doing that for over 35 years, so I'm pretty good with numbers. And I am here tonight to help you understand what numbers we have in this community, where they've been going, and what we need to do to create harmony in our community again. Unfortunately, we've lost some civility, and we need to get that back. We all need to work together to solve the problems.
Okay, thank you. As you can tell, it's going to be a little bit of a haul to get through all 7, that the candidates could make sure that the mic is really close to their mouth so that everybody can hear. The first, and just so you know, the candidates have agreed that sometimes I may refer to them as their first name, but I mean no disrespect, they agreed that would be okay. So Scott Dean will be the first person to answer this question, and then we will continue to go towards the left. So Scott, if elected, what professional experience and personal temperament do you bring to this position that makes you qualified to serve as a city council member?
Thank you for the question. As I mentioned, after I graduated from college, I spent 10 years as a journalist and then 22 years in the oil and gas industry. I traveled the world and I saw the dangers of destroying habitat in places all over the world. It's terrible, and I became a real believer in the danger of climate change. We have a really amazing environment here, and this is going to be an oasis for people. And that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about maintaining our neighborhoods, because this is going to be an escape for people that are trying to escape from climate change. I believe that I work really well as a team with the rest of the council and city staff. Teamwork is something I learned in the Army National Guard. You don't achieve an objective on your own. And then, of course, my day job, I've been 6 years now with the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy. My job is protecting people's drinking water. And I'm extremely passionate about protecting our water here. That's why I'm a big believer in getting our infrastructure fixed. We've got a lot of lead pipes in Saugatuck that need to be addressed. We have a lot of other pressing infrastructure needs. And I believe I've got the right temperament and the right background to continue to serve for another 2 years on the council.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Joseph, would you like me to repeat the question?
Please do.
If elected, what professional experience and personal temperament do you bring to this position that makes you qualified to serve as a city council member?
Well, I don't have the background that some does. I said my primary concern is, or got concerned, but thing is, my time that I've spent here, getting to know the community, seeing how it was built. And I think in my previous life, I was always in sales, and the type of sales I was in, you have to be a good listener. You can't act like you're superior to the people that you're talking to. And I believe I'm that person that can build those coalitions. And even if you don't get your way, you'll have an understanding of why the decision was made. And when those decisions are made, even if they go against you, there won't be the kind of animosity which I've seen creep up in the town lately. So from a technical standpoint, maybe I lack this or that, but I'll put my interpersonal skills with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like me to repeat?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Oh,
not?
no, I said no, that's fine. I'm sorry. Speak a little louder here. My experience speaks for itself, and I think everybody in here knows that. My experience, not just as a business owner, and working with our community, getting to know so many aspects of the folks in our community speaks very well for itself. My professional background is a business owner most of my life, and getting to know the business community here makes it, much like Lauren Stanton, is very important to me to have a healthy tourism industry in our area. And so my experience with the Business Association, my experience working with past councils that Barry served on and you served on, and Mark Becken and others, says a lot as well. I've had bad experiences at times, and folks that don't agree with some of my ideas, like Jane Verplank up there at one time, remember, Art around town? But I didn't hate her. There was no animosity. She had a different opinion than me. So when it comes to temperament, I've made quite great examples of a great temperament and working with different people, even when confronted with false allegations.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Am I on? Okay. I have had experience, obviously, having served on the city council before, and then also serving as mayor. I actually got to drive the banana car. But the hardest part I remember was when we had to cancel the St. Patrick's Day parade, the day of the parade because of COVID. And that was a stressful time. There were a lot of emotions going. People were worried about how they were going to have their businesses run. And we pulled it all together, and a big thanks to the community. The business people pulled up, and we started the pop-up patios. And they were an amazing adventure to go through, setting them up, working out all the details and the ordinances and everything. And I've always felt that I've been honest. I don't exaggerate. When I served on the city council, we almost always reached a compromise. There was no, if you don't like how I vote, don't vote for me. That's just so divisive. That doesn't help anybody do anything. So what I would say is I have had the experience. I believe that everybody can do it and be respectful. And I think that this community, from what I'm seeing, always pulls together, regardless of what it is. Football games, running tracks, trails, everything. And I'm just so proud to be here.
As a business owner in town, in a tourism, we're a tourism business. We're very much, it's our economy in Saugatuck. So I feel like I have, my finger on the pulse of what's going on. I served on the marketing committee for the Convention and Visitors Bureau for several years. I was on the Historic District Committee, the Harbor Authority, and as somebody who has two waterfront businesses, the health of our harbor is so important. So a lot of that knowledge and what I've learned over the last several years, not only as a business owner, but also being a part of those boards, I've learned a lot. As far as temperament goes, as a former journalist, obviously I have to bite my tongue on a lot of things that I might have an opinion on, but I'm also a good listener. It's what you have to be when you're in this position, but also as a journalist for many years, listening is the key to knowing anything about what's going on in your community. And oftentimes, just hearing both sides of every issue is just the most important thing to me. And it's how I've learned to make my decisions on things that have come before us on some very, very difficult decisions this year alone.
I just turned it off. No, it's still green. Okay, thank you.
So, my qualification to sit on your city council. I believe my experience as a mortgage loan officer is going to be very helpful. I'm about numbers. I have put together some numbers that compares some of our spending from 2019 to 2024, and they're alarming. And this is where I excel. I intend to dive deep into our finances, find out where our money is going, how we are spending it, and why. The other reason is with the experience that I've had in volunteering, I've put together some really great teams, and I've been a part of really great teams. We got along, we did our jobs, we made things happen in this community, big things that brought in lots of money for some great nonprofits. So I think those two items alone, they're good reasons to put me in a seat on the council.
Okay, thank you. Let's move our attention to Helen at the end. Helen Baldwin.
Thank you. Regarding my professional experience, I'm a CPA and I worked as a director of financial planning and analysis for a large multinational manufacturer, so decent with numbers, I like to think. In town now, I do a ton of volunteering as a Rotarian, local organizations. We run the Mount Baldhead Challenge, fully fund the kids' after-school program here, and we're really proud of that. The weekly shift at the kids' food basket that I love, that's probably the best part of my week. And I formerly was a court-appointed special advocate working with young women in the Detroit area who'd been trafficked. So I definitely have an ability to be very empathic and listen. I'm fair-minded, and I will always give you the truth. Honest. I'm going to show you my reasoning. And again, you might not always like my viewpoints, but that's what we're here for. We're here to work it out, and then to come to our job on council is to make decisions, and then we move on to the next one. And I always look for ways to serve. I think that's why we're here. We're here to serve each other. And thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, this next question, we will start with Joseph. What is your position on the recent decision to reduce the number of short-term rentals? Do you support a targeted approach to enforcing these restrictions in specific neighborhoods? Why or why not?
Well, One of the complaints that I've had recently is everything is hair on fire, let's do this, let's do that, without really deep diving into it. I'm rather ambivalent on the short-term rentals. I can see both sides of it, but I don't see how you can move forward without doing an economic impact study. And that will tell you a lot. So you'll know, are we risking losing restaurants? Are we risking losing shops? Are we risking losing nothing? But get all the facts, get the facts in front of the people of the community. And I think the first step on that would be to do an economic impact study. Thank you.
Could you repeat
Okay,
that?
great. What is your position on the recent decision to reduce the number of short-term rentals? Do you support a targeted approach to enforcing these restrictions in specific neighborhoods? Why or why not?
I most certainly do. I think it's something that does need to be discussed, but not without proper investigation. The issues around noise, parking, number of people, cars at a residence, and the ask issues under friendly neighborhood rule should be addressed first and foremost. I also have to agree with Joe and a lot of people that I heard at our council meetings that I didn't want to go forward with anything until an economic impact study. I wasn't against or for caps, one or the other. So to put me in one category or the other, I just felt that we needed more information about our city. I also felt that there should be a referendum on the issue. All of the citizens together would make the decision about it, and when and what the percent of caps, if any. What are the problems that we're trying to solve? Let's find that out for sure. Let's get those real numbers. We can compare ourselves to other places and other towns for that information, but I feel that we deserve it to ourselves because we're such a unique community. We're a lot different than other towns. So how is it going to affect our business owners first? This is the first time I've seen all of our businesses filled. Almost every single shop filled. And I've had business here. I've been in the business community here for over 20 years. And it's the first time I've seen everything so full. So I wonder, where will we be 10, 15, 20 years down the road as far as business and tourism? I also think that it's immoral not to allow STR not to be passed to next generation. People have made their financial plans for generations based on the ability to short-term rental their home.
Hi. I was a vocal opponent of the caps starting way back many years ago when I was on the city council, and it came up then too. And I agree with this and other people. You have to have an economic impact report. You have to have the accurate numbers. How many places are there out there that are actually STRs? How many are second homeowners? What's the difference between an STR and a second homeowner? We live on Pleasant Street. We have 6 second homeowners and 5 short-term rentals. And I will tell you, it's just as dark in January and March with a second homeowner and a snowbird as it is with an STR. You don't move forward if you don't have all the answers. At the last meeting before the Planning Commission voted to go forward with the caps, the question came up, first time, how do you feel about transferring your property? And the basic answer was, you don't transfer your property. And the question was, from one of the committee members was, well, how is this going to affect everybody? And the city attorney's response was, that's not my expertise. And they passed it on to the city council. You don't move something forward if you don't have the options. Regardless of who wins, if it's the same incumbents, go back again, please address 3 things. There's no appeal process. If your certificate is removed, you can't do anything about it. There's no transfer of property. I see a gentleman here that talked about wanting to pass their cottage on to their daughter who wouldn't be able to keep it if she couldn't do a short-term rental. And basically the response was, hey, city doesn't do your estate planning. And finally, the last one is the lottery. If you wanted to have...
Thank you, Ms. Peterson.
I voted in favor of the 20% cap in our R1 residential zones. I believe in the integrity of our neighborhoods. Year after year, we've lost the number of residents who live in our community. I hate to see, what would happen if we, all of a sudden, all of Saugatuck was just short-term rentals and people just didn't live here either full-time or at least part-time. It just has become to the point where everybody seems to think that Well, that's the only way my house is gonna sell is if I can do a short-term rental. Well, we've learned that people have sold their homes. One recently was over $1 million, and it was to somebody that wants to live here full-time. There are still people who want to live here full-time in Saugatuck. I do want to address the economic impact study. I believe that any economic impact study would be speculative and subjective. You can't say that homes are going to plummet. You can't say businesses are going to go out of business. I just feel like a lot of that would be subjective. I do believe there's an 85% occupancy for a lot of the short-term rentals and the lodging in town. A lot of those places could be fully rented. A lot of those places could pick up those places that might turn into a full-time residence. So my point is, like, there's a lot of people out there that would love to be fully occupied as a short-term rental or another lodging option.
Thank you.
The caps have increased the value of my home because my home is outside of the 20% cap. Even so, I am not at all convinced that this is the way that we should proceed in our community. We have not had the economic impact study. We need that. I found one from 2019 online, and it stated, if I'm not mistaken, that our economy was almost all from tourism, and it was $483 million. Those businesses who you love to I hope, go to, restaurants, the SCA, the clothing stores, retro boat rentals, they put a lot of money into their businesses and hope to have the tourist business continue. Without a proper study to see what we're actually losing, I don't know how we could do this. It just seems reckless to me. We have to have all of the information before we proceed.
Thank you. Helen Baldwin at the end. Would you like me to state the question again?
No, thank you. I absolutely support the caps and ran on it last time, running on it again. I'm proud of what we've done. We're striking a balance in our low-density residential neighborhoods. We have to do that. We have to have, it has to be a good place for people to want to live, as well as, of course, tourism. I love the tourists, and we've got a wonderful economy for the tourism, and we have that kind of a balance. Take a look, don't be myopic about this topic. Take a look up and down the lakeshore. 20% in low-density residential is a very generous, light touch on this short-term rental problem that we've got. Other cities are going to 4%. Some are banning them outright in residential districts. We are being very respectful of the businesses, of tourism, of our local economy, while also respecting the residents, the people who live here and deserve a little bit of peace in their neighborhood and to have actual neighbors. Absolutely support the cap. And I do want to talk about the, we had such a robust, more so than any other, I looked at all other lakeshore, we talked to the mayor of New Buffalo, Charlevoix, planning. We have researched this up, down, and around through the middle. STR task force, numerous town halls, all of this. Anything else that we would do, and the subjective and speculative are perfect words to describe what an economic impact study would be, and we would have gotten not to any different result. Thank you.
Well, I believe I was true to my word when I told the voters at the League of Women Voters Forum 2 years ago that I would make this issue my top priority, and I did. As mayor, I created the short-term rental task force made up of residents, short-term rental operators, both inside and out the city. I voted for all the city's, or the task force recommendations for police power ordinances pertaining to short-term rentals. I voted to adopt all the task force's recommendations for zoning ordinances that were brought before the council. I voted in favor of the 20% cap, and I remain committed to keeping it in place if I'm reelected. And this is what it's all about. It's really clear now. There are 3 people at this table that will keep the cap in place. Helen Baldwin, Lauren Stanton, Scott Dean, and then our 4th member of council, Holly Anderson, who led our task force. The other 3 have not made a commitment to keep the cap. If one of us are removed from office, the cap will likely be rescinded. And all that's going to do for Saugatuck is it's going to create more uncertainty and lack of stability in our real estate market and lack of stability in our residential neighborhoods. People have been, on tenterhooks waiting, should I buy in Saugatuck, or is it just going to be one big party town all the time? There are a lot of people that would love to live here full time, but they want to live in a balanced community that has residents, that also has opportunities for tourists. We've taken as a council a very light touch when we've done this. 20% in the R1 is very, very conservative. And this is an issue that's being dealt with all around the world. We know you read in the paper every day. And once again, many folks that were against the cap said Saugatuck's unique, Saugatuck's unique. I agree. That's why, once again, I believe that an economic impact study would not do us any good.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Thank you, Mr. Dean. Okay, the next question, Gregory will be the first to answer. How do you think that the current short-term rental cap will affect local businesses? And what will you say to local property owners who are concerned about their property rights? What measures, if any, would you propose to prevent potential negative effects of this decision regarding the short-term rentals?
Making sure that our business community is getting what they need to support them, and also to keep up with infrastructure. As we're growing, as the community is growing, there's a big, need to update our infrastructure to support these crowds that we've been seeing here in our town as well. I think that again, I wasn't on one side or the other, so I wasn't anti or against. I felt, I'm going to go back to the economic impact study. I think anything could be speculative. I think, even the ideas that, that were set forth, could be speculative. I think it's going to be a waiting game. I think that it's going to be 10 to 15 years, maybe even more, before we see folks that, can get back into the program again. I think it's about, having a great council, having a great manager, working with our property owners, and finding out what their needs are. I think, it's kind of a guessing game. We can't sit here and predict, what is life going to be 20 years from now. I don't know if I agree so much about the housing value going down as much as some of the realtors did. I just can't speculate that without those hard numbers. Maybe an economic impact study would have been a little bit speculative, but it would have been more information, that we could have worked with.
Thank you, Mr. Muncey. Okay.
The STR issue is not going to go away this year. It's not going to go away next year. This is something that's going to take years to work out. Looking at the 20% cap on the Hill, right now, if you're on the Hill, before you could even apply for a certificate, 54 places have to close. And then you'd have to win the lottery. I don't even get a $5 scratch card. So I'm thinking it's pretty tricky to try to get that new certificate. And the values do go down, because when you eliminate people that are going to buy and want to be able to rent to afford their mortgage, you eliminate a huge layer of people that have the money and are able to do it. That just goes away. Right now, again, I would say, if the incumbents stay on, please do an appeal process. Give it to the Zoning Board of Appeals so that you do not have the final say. Please look at transferring the property so people can keep their generational cottages. See the gentleman again who said his daughter wouldn't be able to keep it. And please work on the lottery. It's not fair the way it is. It puts somebody who just bought a house in the same bag. Was that a stop? Oh, it puts them in the same bag as people who've lived here for generations. We have small town charm, and a lot of it is because of those people that have lived here generations and passed their homes on down to their heirs.
Right now on the Hill in Saugatuck, 39% of the homes are short-term rentals. If you compare us to any lakeshore community, that's just unheard of. That's so many short-term rentals. To get down to a 20% cap, it's going to take years. And no one loses their short-term rental license until they sell their property. And it's going to take years to get down to that 20% cap. But I just don't feel like we could do nothing. We have to look at our neighborhoods as neighborhoods where people live full-time or even part-time, but not have that continuous short-term rental, new people in every single week. And we love short-term rentals. We just need to find balance in our communities, and we feel the 20% cap can help do that. It also means that in our business districts, we can expand. We can have more short-term rentals where it makes more sense. where you're closer to the businesses downtown. Maybe you're on the waterfront. Maybe you're part of something that is not right next to the high school. It just makes more sense to do it in the resort districts, in the business districts, to have short-term rentals there. We could expand along Blue Star Highway. There's going to be lodging options, whether the occupancy rates, again, go up for the people who have short-term rentals. So they're going to make more money. It actually is a great thing for people who own a short-term rental.
Thank you, Ms. Stanton.
I started to address the effect of short-term rentals on our businesses, but to put it into a perspective and give you an example of some numbers. We all love neighborhoods, but we love our tourists. We are unlike any community along the lake shore. We have no other industry but tourism. So when a family of 6 lives in our community on the hill, do you think they spend $100 a day in our community? I'm sure they don't. Do you think 6 adults renting that short-term rental will spend $600 a day? I believe they will spend that and more. That helps our businesses. That is good for our town. And talk about property rights. Working for a bank, I take compliance tests all the time. Property rights are important. We can't just willy-nilly say you can have a short-term rental certificate and you cannot. If there are too many short-term rentals, the market will stop to be favorable, so for those who are renting. So it's going to work itself out. I think that we've killed a fly on our forehead with an axe by doing this as drastically as we have. We need that study.
So I want to make sure I answer the question. The first part was, how do you think the cap will affect local businesses? Not at all. I think that our STRs are still going to be full. We're still going to have abundant STRs in the city. We might even have some residents that want to go to businesses in the summertime. I know I usually cede most of that to the tourists and that because you have to wait 2 hours to get a hamburger or whatever. And as far as property rights, I think that people who bought a home in a low-density residential district have a right to be surrounded by homes and not businesses. You don't just get to, I couldn't just run a daycare in my house if I wanted to. I shouldn't be able to run a hotel there.
Thanks. Once again, it's very clear. If Helen, Lauren, or I are not reelected, the cap will go away, the short-term rental police powers ordinances will be gutted, and it will create a lack of stability and uncertainty in our residential neighborhoods, full stop. But to address Sherry Tedaldi's comment about a family of 6 spending $100, when Max and my 2 twin daughters come into town, and we've got the other 2 girls with us, we spend $100 easily on any given day in Saugatuck. The kids are hungry. I mean, and we love our local businesses, and we support them on a year-round basis. To Chris's comment, actually, I even said at our last meeting about this subject that I am open to a hardship mechanism that the ZBA could administer. I'm very happy if the Zoning Board of Administration wants to take up hardship cases. I'm totally good with that. But to answer the question about businesses, I think a cap on short-term rentals is actually going to save our businesses. If you look at our B&Bs kind of in the resort district, they are telling us that short-term rentals are taking away customers from them. Short-term rental operators are taking customers away from each other. The rentals were down to 72% this year versus 85% last year. So it's getting oversaturated, and it's getting to be almost like a pyramid scheme where it's going to collapse on itself anyway, so we should be regulating it. Otherwise, we're going to have a real problem on our hands for our businesses.
Just about everything that's been said, actually this question and the previous question, it gets down to speculation. I think. Thinking and knowing is not the same thing. I think you have to arm yourself with as much hard material, hard facts as you can, and I'm going to go back to that economic impact study. Just for me, I live on Allegan Street. Everybody almost to the east of me is short-term rental. I see the parades walk down the street. Sometimes those families will go down to town 3 times a day, and when they come back, they're bringing packages with them. They spend a lot of money here. So that has to be determined, I think, and you just cannot speculate. Get somebody, get some professionals in there that can give you hard information to make your decisions on.
Okay, thank you. So we'll turn to a different question. The first, this person will, Chris Peterson, you will be answering this first. Please explain your decision-making process. For instance, how would you handle complaints or gather information before making controversial decisions?
I usually go out and meet with the people. I go walk the area that they're looking at. When I was on the planning commission and we had differences when we gave up a street end or something, or have wanting a special use permit, I would go out and look at the places. When the bird cottages came up for sale, I went out and crawled under the first one because they were going to tear it down. And I was on the planning district, or the historic district commission at the time. And you just don't tear stuff down in the historic district commission. So I went out, crawled underneath it, looked around. It's being held by cement blocks, so I got out of there. And it was torn down. You have to go meet the people. You have to see what's happening in their world. And then you try to find a medium that you both can agree to that is going to at least move forward, even a small step at a time, until you get to a result that everybody can live with.
With all of our meetings, it's been wonderful that so many people have shown up in the past year in person with complaints and giving their varying opinions on how, decisions that we're making affects them. A lot of people join on Zoom, and that's been a great way to be able to hear their opinions as well and be involved in that conversation. But as far as varying subjects that have come up, it's been great to talk one-on-one with everyone because everybody has a different perspective. Chris Peterson and I, when we were on City Council together, we did start the pop-up patios in the social district. And it was great talking to all of the business owners about why it was needed during that time. And just communicating with email and messaging with Facebook and talking to people in my business when they come in to visit. There's just lots of ways to get to know people and just hearing their varying perspectives. It's just, you just have to understand and have empathy. I think that's the biggest thing, is that we just have to have empathy for what other people are going through. And I use that to do a lot of judgment on my opinions on things.
So, I have made complaints in this community, and they've gone unanswered. That is not how I would handle it. We had a city manager who was not right for this city. There were several complaints to mayors about this city manager, is my understanding, and nothing was done. We ended up giving this man $98,000 for his resignation. I can assure you, complaints would not go unanswered if I were on city council. And we need to talk about civility as well on council and in our community. I've never seen this town so divided. Let's take complaints and I would hope the city would do something about it, investigate, and do the right thing. I'm tired of paying money for not doing the right thing.
So again, I want to answer the question. The question was, explain your decision-making process. Like I've already stated, I think it's City Council's job literally to make decisions. That's what we're here to do. We make decisions and then we move on. What we do is you listen to smart people. You check with the experts. You check with people who have been through this before. For example, with the short-term rentals, reached out to other communities who have tackled this issue. It's a thorny issue. It's hard. It's divisive. But we're here to do hard things. We don't just roll over and kick the can down the road because it's going to be difficult. So to make a decision, you check with the experts, you check with people who have been there before, you listen, you have town halls. I mean, people had every opportunity to be heard. I don't think there's anybody who can say that we didn't listen on a short-term rental process. Listen to the experts, research the topic, discuss with stakeholders, and then you make a decision. And that's my process. Thank you.
I use the same process that I use at my day job. It's about listening, gathering data, acting, keeping the public informed, and then monitoring through a feedback loop. In this case, I live in the heart of the R1 up here on the hill. Everyone that lives here full-time told me they wanted who they were going to vote for to do something that nobody was willing to do. Basically having that difficult conversation around the Thanksgiving table here in Saugatuck. So that's why when I was mayor, I created the short-term rental task force. We gathered a lot of data. We had lots of public input. In fact, we had a huge meeting here in the school to hear from all of the public and folks on both sides of the issue. And then I committed to act after listening to the task force, listening to the planning commission, listening to you, and listening to the folks around this table that are on the council currently. I don't believe in kicking the can down the road. I don't believe in not tackling difficult issues. Just because I may have not made a few friends, that's not my job to make friends. My job is to do what the community wants, and the community wanted action on short-term rentals. I also believe in monitoring, and then when we get feedback and we need to make adjustments, we will. The problem is, if we just, once again, aren't reelected and the cap goes away, you're going to get a ballot initiative. And once again, we're not going to be able to adjust it because a ballot initiative is a nuclear option. At least if you keep me, Helen, and Lauren on the council. If we see things that aren't working right, we can make adjustments. Maybe the ZBA idea for hardship cases is a good idea.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Thank you, Mr. Dean.
Well, this is all very nice, and I hear, oh, we all talk to one another, we look for consensus. Yeah, you talk to people, you give them lip service, but then you don't follow through. It's the same gang of four. I was alluding to something, and I took too much time. Look at the past city council meetings, look at the past workshops, just the parts of the public comments, and ask yourself one thing. Do you want to be talked to like that? Do you want to be just given lip service and shake their head? Okay, we've heard everybody. Now we'll do what we want because we're smarter than you. We know more than you. No, I don't believe that for a minute. Thank you very much.
I would say my process is walking out my front door and visiting with my neighbors. We have such a small community here. I've counted, but we have about 50 to 60 people here. You've got to understand, that's quite a big percentage for a town of about 860. So it's really not too hard to reach out and listen to folks that have experience, experts as well. Friends that I have in other cities that deal with some of the same issues as well, to get their take on it. And being a patient listener, not giggling or rolling my eyes, but paying attention to folks that even have opposing ideas and things that, that might open our eyes. Always being open to new ideas as well I think it really helps out with effective communication when it comes to problem solving. And then also reaching out to my council folks individually, not sitting in a group somewhere, but individually reaching out. I'll give Lauren a call, and I'll say, hey, what's going on here or there? Or Helen will give me a call and she'll say, hey, Gregory, I want you to know this. So, reaching out and having constant communication and not offering ultimatums, like if this happens, then that happens, and not using any kind of almost, I want to say almost threats, of saying that if you don't do this and using language like nuclear options.
Thank you, Mr. Muncey. All right, now we're on to Ms. Stanton will be the first one to answer this question. Okay, beyond STRs, what other issues will Saugatuck be facing in the next 5 years? How will you build community understanding of and support of these issues?
I think one of the things that we've been talking about for a while, and we really have to tackle, is the parking situation in Saugatuck. If you've noticed, on some of our busiest weekends, people are parking on people's lawns up on the hill on both sides. We've addressed the safety issue of it by making sure that some of those roads only have parking on one side so emergency vehicles can get through. But we need to create more parking if we want to continue to have a robust tourism industry. I think there are ways to do that. I know a lot of people park downtown. Maybe they work downtown or own a business downtown and maybe are there all day. There's some options that we could provide for people, and these are going to be questions that a lot of people, it's going to be a hairy discussion. But basically creating revenue, so maybe we can build parking structures, more parking areas, spaces, but even paid parking downtown might have to be something that we tackle in order for us to have space for people to visit our community and not be so frustrated when they do visit our community.
Thank you. So, beyond STRs, one of the biggest problems that we're facing right now is our aging infrastructure. It's my understanding that we will need about $13 million to replace the water pipes in the city of Saugatuck. It's also, I put some numbers together, and we have been spending twice as much money as we have over the past 5 years. I don't know where it's gone. They say our population has gone down, our payroll has almost doubled, our legal fees are more than 10 times what they were in 2019. We need to get serious. We need to stop funding things that we want and start taking care of things that we need. The water pipes are a huge issue. And the plan, I don't know if you've noticed, is a $20 increase on every month's water bill. That's not going to begin to cover it. We need a lot more than that. And we cannot keep spending money recklessly with attorneys and parks. Parks are wonderful. Who doesn't like a park? Sometimes we can't afford the things that we like. We have a merry-go-round sitting in a storage unit someplace, apparently, because we couldn't fit it. We didn't plan the park well enough, and we got sued for it. More legal fees. We need to slow down, take our time, and do things the right way.
Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you. So the question is, beyond STRs, what issues will Saugatuck face in the coming years? For me, infrastructure, certainly. What I really want is follow through. We've approved a lot of great projects and enacted ordinances. We need to sustain this momentum. Mount Baldhead, we're going to replace the restrooms and upper deck. Infrastructure projects, Maple Street, Park Street, improve self-service at Oval Beach in the city. I agree we need to tackle the thorny issue of parking. That really comes to mind. Look at ways to build out revenue sources. The fact that we have no paid parking in town, I think any urban planner would think that that is just absolutely, we're leaving money on the table. Just go to Grand Rapids anytime you want to pay $4 for the privilege of parking somewhere for 2 hours. Absolutely take a look at that. We need to work on our infrastructure. But I don't have this doom and gloom view of Saugatuck. We are in excellent financial shape. We are doing good work. When people give you their tax dollars, they don't want you to hoard it away. They want to know what they're getting for it. And we need to answer to those taxpayers as well. Thank you.
I'll start with a question. Once again, I think the top issue is going to be short-term rentals. There could easily be a ballot initiative to remove the cap or to jack the cap up to 50%. That's entirely possible. There's also been threats of litigation, so there could be litigation over short-term rentals. So once again, I don't think the battle's over. And once again, if you want to create stability and you want to have certainty in your residential zoning, once again, it's simple. You have to vote for Baldwin, you have to vote for Dean, you got to vote for Stanton. Once again, litigation, there'll be a lot of litigation. And once again, if you change horses in midstream and vote for any of these other folks, once again, it's going to send a message to the counterparties that we're in litigation with. So be very careful of that. In fact, some of them are their friends. To Ms. Tedaldi's point about water and infrastructure, that's something I do every day. We don't even know how many lead service lines we have in Saugatuck. We're due to give an inventory to my agency, Eagle, on October 16th. Then we'll understand the problem. And we're already in action. It should have been taken a long time ago, frankly. That $20 increase for about 80% of the homes per month for their water bills, we should have been building up that kitty a long time ago. But we'll get there, and there's a lot of opportunities for grant and loan funding for the city. So I think we'll get it done. We're no different than any other community in the state that's operating under the state's lead and copper rule.
I'm going to refer something back that Sherry said about the importance of making the right decisions, taking the time to figure things out, looking where the money is coming from. One of the things that's stuck in my craw for a long time, the money we spent on legal fees. I was stopped by a member of the city council on another matter, and I said to him, it's ridiculous that a town this size spends this kind of money on legal fees. And he said, well, if people weren't suing us, we wouldn't have these legal fees. Yes, you're right. If you weren't doing stupid things, we wouldn't be sued. It's as simple as that. So we have to slow. What is the job of the city council? It's the infrastructure. We can have all these grandiose ideas, and that's fine. But it's basic nuts and bolts in this infrastructure. Here's our money. How are we spending it? Do you agree how we're spending our money? Simple as that. Thank you.
Could you repeat that, please?
Beyond the issue of STRs, what other issues will Saugatuck be facing over the next 5 years? And how will you build community understanding and support of these issues?
I think, well, one thing, we're doing a great job of it. I think it's going on right now. There's a get-together there at City Hall where they're discussing Maple Road and the construction of. You're looking at all of this council right now, and you know that not all the time that we agree on things, but I will be very proud of working with everyone on our council for the accomplishments that we have done. That means Maple Road's going to get redone tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, I wish. Next year. We've already approved that. Infrastructure, along with parking. I think besides STR, to answer the question, those are the most pressing things. To meet that 2040 deadline, to get our roads better in shape so that I'm not driving up and down the hill or Elizabeth Street worried that my hubcap is going to fall off. But to get those roads back into shape and to find something with parking. I don't have a solution for that, an easy solution. I think we need to take our time doing that. I think we need to realize there's a lot of people that live full time in Saugatuck, so that's going to be a little challenge. You know, how are we going to, make sure that myself and my neighbors are able to find ample parking without having to worry to pay for it? So, there's some challenges with that, and I think through proper research, I think we can find a parking solution together. I did kind of hint to council back when the Chemical Bank property was for sale, but it seems like nobody really bid.
Thank you, Mr. Munson. Thank you. Okay, now this question will be for Sherry. Oh, I'm sorry. Correction. I'm sorry, Ms. Chris. Chris Peterson.
Yes.
Would you like me to state the question again?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. Beyond STRs, what other issues will Saugatuck be facing in the next 5 years, and how will you build community understanding of and support of these issues?
Okay, first right off the bat, I'm going to give a quick side to Councilmember Dean. You've had 4 years to pick up the kitty. How'd that go? My first priority would be the waterfront preservation. Right now, waterfront condos can be built, and they can have first floor residential, which means they can close the boardwalk. September 19th, the Planning Commission is going to meet again to remove first floor residential from some of the properties. It should never have been put on there. The owners own the boardwalk, and they can close it, but they're still going to allow condos. The Historic District Commission was created to prevent condos from being on the waterfront. Right now, they can also have them first floor residential. That's where our shops need to be. That's where our restaurants need to be. That's what people want to see when they come to this town, is that beautiful downtown, and they can walk along that boardwalk. That's what makes Saugatuck so special. And you meet nice people while you're doing it, whether they're STRs, second homeowners, snowbirds, I don't know. But let's preserve that waterfront. Secondly, the airport property, that conservation easement is there. If the city council does anything, because discussions are going on and we haven't heard anything, make it a removable conservation easement so that it doesn't tie the hands of the next group of city council members.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. Thank you. Sorry about that earlier. Okay, so the next, Sherry, you will be asked this question first. Okay. So growth or non-growth is usually an issue for every community. How do you propose balancing the concerns of local business owners with residents who are mostly concerned with maintaining our unique small town charm of Saugatuck?
Well, I think our businesses are concerned enough to want to preserve the small town charm of Saugatuck as well, because let's face it, we all moved here for a reason. This is a wonderful, beautiful community, and it deserves our attention, and it deserves our best if we're going to maintain it. I think that we need to we need to talk about the airport property too with affordable housing so that we can get our community, our businesses to have some employees who may be able to live here. We need to get our police force here. We need to get our first responders here. We need to get our teachers here. And we have an asset that can help bridge that, in my opinion, and still retain our small town charm. But the airport property is a wonderful example of land that we have that we could help people in this community build and live here and work here and grow. That's what we need to do, in my opinion.
So once again, I'm going to answer the question. Growth or non-growth, how do we balance concerns of local business owners with residents to preserve small town charm? Certainly, I think that the role of government is to give a welcoming place for businesses to thrive. I mean, it's a capitalist society, you pay your money and you take your chances, and we need to provide an atmosphere for businesses to survive. I also think that we need to be predictable. Government should be predictable, not political. You should know what you're getting. Make sure that rules are applied fairly and consistently across all businesses, allowing any kind of ambiguity or selective enforcement. It's not fair to the business community as a whole. And where we can be flexible on issues like outdoor dining and social district, we should do so, but we can't compromise safety, accessibility, or the need to protect and preserve the small town charm of our downtown. And all of us benefit from that.
You maintain your small town charm by taking a balanced approach. You know, it's tourist accommodation, it's residential districts for your full-time residents who support your economy year-round. Your waterfront is absolutely essential. I'm a huge proponent of preserving our waterfront, and you know, Chris may say this, but the fact of the matter is the Planning Commission is going to take this up on Thursday, and if I'm reelected, or even before I'm reelected, I mean, as soon as it comes to me in council, I'm going to vote to make sure that the boardwalk and the waterfront is preserved. There's no way I will allow first floor condos to prevent folks from accessing the waterfront. In fact, what I would like to do is I'd like to see our access for the public to the waterfront expanded. I would also like to see more public access for the airport property. Ms. Tedaldi is incorrect about affordable housing at the airport property. We have township officials here. The lot size minimum on the airport property is 2.5 acres. That means you could maybe fit 17 single-family homes on 2.5 acre lots in the airport property. So that's not going to really answer the affordable housing question. But what is interesting is Allegan County is going to be hosting on September 30th a summit meeting for county and township and village officials hosted by the Allegan County Community Foundation to explore this housing issue, which is a very thorny issue here and elsewhere in all these destination communities along the lake shore. So I think that's really the answer.
Thank you, Mr. Dean.
Could you repeat the question?
By all means. Growth is always an issue. How do you propose balancing the concerns of the local business owners with residents who are mostly concerned with maintaining the unique small town charm of Saugatuck?
You know what? I think if you look at, as I said, because I'm the oldest buffalo in the herd here, I go back a long time. And things have basically worked themselves out. They've happened naturally. Do not overmanage. Do not micromanage. Because every time you think you're doing something really good on one side, it could have a negative effect. I, like everybody else, want to maintain that integrity of the waterfront. That is very crucial. But as far as some of these other matters, the rental housing, I don't know. Now, the question I have is, can that property be rezoned on the airport? I'm not suggesting you do that, but it certainly would be something that you could think about. And let's make sure we've explored all our avenues for each of these discussions, and don't come into these situations with your mind made up.
Maintaining small town charm to me is our business owners as well. I don't see such a separation. I see Phil and Brandy. I see Brandy working at the bar there at Phil's, and her wonderful sparkling personality that has invited so many people to move here, that invited C.J. Gadrak, who serves on Planning Commission. It was their stop there and Brandy's words when they met her that made them buy a house here. I think, and they're full-time residents. I think David Locker and his wife and the great job that they do. When I think about small-town charm, not just the residents, I don't think it's such a separation there. I also think of, Grimm's. I think of, all of our wonderful shops. The Santa Fe Trading Company. I think of Doug. I think of people that grew up here and live here and maintain their businesses and bring a lot of charm here, like Laura Durham for Mill Pond Realty and all the great things she does for the community. That brings charm. Movie in the park, scholarships for our high school kids and things like that. So I don't see such a separation with that. As far as affordable housing, I think that's a waste of time with the city of Saugatuck. We just don't have the room to develop. And I think that's, again, the Allegan County Forum. I think that's a great place to talk about it. And also getting together with our fellow neighbors, through our relationships that we've created with Douglas and with the township.
Well, again, as I said, my waterfront priority, that encompasses small town charm. Because you walk down that boardwalk and you see the water, you see the boats, you see the shops. That is what makes us so special. That's why Saugatuck's so special, is because we are right there. And we have businesses that actually help that with the different shops that do glassware and all of those kinds. Every one of those things keeps the small town charm. When we look at parking and retention of employees, that's going to be something that we should look to Douglas with. We have the tourists, they have the parking. Let's get a shuttle going back and forth. A trolley would really help with small town charm. People love that. So there's a lot of different things that can be done out there to keep the small town charm the way we want it. I drive through this town and I can't believe I get to live here. It is so beautiful. The Christmas lights, the singers that come during the holiday time, that's small town charm. That's when you've got your neighbors that come up, or your SPR people, and they say, hi, where should we go to eat? We go da-da-da-da-da-da. And they go, oh, thank you, you're so nice. That's all small town charm. That's what we are, that's what we're about, and we need to nurture that.
Could you repeat the question one more time?
No worries. Growth or non-growth? How would you propose balancing the concerns of local business owners with residents who are mostly concerned with maintaining the unique small town charm of Saugatuck?
So there's I don't know if most of you are probably on Facebook. There's a Facebook page that looks at the history of Saugatuck, and there's really great pictures that show what it used to be. And a lot of things have changed over the years, and it doesn't mean we've lost any small town charm. We have amazing things that have been a part of our community. The building that I'm in was empty for 11 years, and we thought of a new way to use that waterfront property. The Big Lake Outfitters building that's, was for sale, it's been purchased, and they want to redevelop that. But it sat empty for many years, and we want to see something.
Morning walk up and down the lake shore. Again, like Ms. Peterson, I can't believe I get to live here, my luck. So the way that we increase our population is we know that the population, you can draw a really straight line. The increase in short-term rentals and the decrease in population, it's not complicated. So if we can reverse that a little bit, and again, through attrition, through a very light touch, not through anything drastic, no bans, no none of this, but a very light touch, and reverse that ship, and we will get our residents back, we'll get our schools back to where they need to be, and I'm always going to be somebody. My kids are grown, but I'm going to support the school, I'm going to support our public places, I'm going to support our libraries, and that's how I think you attract more residents.
Once again, if either Helen Baldwin, Lauren Stanton, or I are not reelected, the short-term rental cap in the residential district will likely be removed, and the restrictions will probably be gutted. That's going to cause our population to continue to drop until it becomes unsustainable. You won't have anybody to work in the restaurants. You won't have anybody to volunteer for the various councils, boards, and commissions. You won't have anybody to march in the parade. Keith, who will we use for the shovel brigade when we're all gone because our homes have been taken over by short-term rentals? I don't know. What makes our community grow is taking action on our zoning. It is having reasonable caps on short-term rentals in your residential district. It's having a great school that some of my opponents at this table and in the audience voted against time and time and again. They actually spent money on the No campaign to prevent my daughter from having a school with security cameras and toilets that actually flushed properly. I'm passionate about it, I'm sorry, but I care about my family and I care about the other families that live in this town. And it's about having a community that grows, not shrinks. But it's also about our public spaces. It's also about investing in our infrastructure. That's why we're working on cellular service that works. That's why we're working on Starlink Wi-Fi that's going to be at Oval Beach so people can actually access the internet and call in an emergency so we don't have somebody that dies again at the beach so you can call emergency services. These are the things that are important. This is how you grow a community.
Would you repeat the question, please?
Sure. Saugatuck has seen a significant population decrease over the years. How would you propose bringing up the residential population to ensure a viable, sustainable neighborhood and community?
You're going to really struggle with that because you have to face fact. You have a finite amount of space. Where are you going to build all these houses where these people are going to come rolling in here? Are we going to have very high-density apartment buildings in here? It's a very difficult situation. You're faced with a situation, what is the average buy-in here? How many young families do you know with school-age children can plop down $700,000, which is probably pretty close to the buy-in of the community? So it's like, I think the fact should be that you try to increase the overall quality of life in the city. If you concentrate on that, you may not grow the population by leaps and bounds because there's no way to do that. But you will have a sustainable population because people will want to come and live in the community because of the quality of life.
Could you repeat that one more time?
Sure. Saugatuck has seen a significant population decrease. How do you propose bringing up the residential population to ensure a viable, sustainable neighborhood and community?
Okay, thank you. First of all, our last census was 2020, and that was during COVID. We have had such an increase of people moving here to our area full time, so I'm really curious as to what our population is now. I feel that, I feel that our next census will bring a bigger number. Now, also looking back, and I had somebody help me to look back at the population of the school system here. We have not been losing students at all. The last 20 years, we've had a slight increase on the folks coming to our schools. Of course, I know we do have school of choice, but kids aren't going. That we were not having a depletion of kids in our schools at all. We haven't seen that in over 20 years. So I don't know where that's coming from. Another thing is our community organizations have become stronger in the last 5 to 10 years. I know that because I've lived here. I've seen the heights. I've seen times when we're good and times when we're down and times when we're good, and we're in a high right now. And our community, even the Saugatuck Douglas Art Club has a more folks that have ever been in it before. Folks have stepped up to do all of these great events, where I remember 10 years ago or so, we did struggle, where it was only Saba, it was only me, okay, myself, running a lot of these events. And we didn't have a lot of people doing it before, we do now.
Thank you, Mr. Muncey.
It's kind of one of the things I heard when we first moved here. If you can get people to visit 3 times, the 3rd time they'll buy, just because it's such a wonderful place. Joe nailed it. It's the quality of life. I applaud the police power ordinances that are passed for the short-term rentals. I think that's going to make every neighborhood much better. They're going to be able to look at the noise ordinances, parking, garbage, and all of that. And again, as Gregory said, we're not losing students. We have many volunteers. Look what just happened with the Mount Baldhead run. People want to retire here. Maybe it's, not a good thing for us old people, but people want to come here because of the quality of life. And they're going to be here, and they're going to be full-time residents. They're going to go to the churches, and they're going to go to the racetrack, and they're going to do the trails, and they're going to do every single thing that you want to do to keep this quality of life going for Saugatuck. And they're going to invite other people to come. And if we get them 3 times, they're going to buy.
With the 20% cap, I believe there will be more homes that aren't going for someone who wants to just invest in it as a short-term rental. They're going to buy it because they're going to plan on living here either full-time or at least part-time. Maybe they're a snowbird. But having that where you're not competing against just investors who plan to rent it and make between $20,000 and $60,000 just renting the house out and not even living there, this is what I think will create an opportunity for more people to live here because those houses won't be bought up by investors. I just think more people will have that opportunity. There's houses that I've heard from a lot of people that families don't want to live in these houses. Well, I've seen cottages get remodeled and they add a bedroom or they add some closets. They do some things that make improvements on these houses in town because it's really great to have your kids be able to walk to school, walk to that Friday night football game, and be a part of this small town community that we have.
As a mortgage banker, I can tell you that families really don't want to live in cities. They want to live in townships. And one of our planning commission people mentioned, why are families not buying these houses when they come up for sale? Well, they're expensive, number one. The caps will probably take care of that, according to several local real estate appraisers. The values likely will go down. But families live in the township. The property taxes here are very high. There are families who rent out spaces or accessory units in order to pay the taxes that are in Saugatuck so they can live here. Man, we've got a great town. That's why people come here. But a lot of families can't afford to live here. We have a lot of retirees. I'm not convinced our population has gone down. Like Gregory said, I would like to see the numbers when they do the next one here because I just can't believe it. We do very well. People love living here. So I think that, oh my gosh, I've lost my train of thought. I was reading my notes. But our property taxes are so high, we need the short-term rentals for some families to be able to afford them, so.
All right, well, I just want to chime in and say I think Saugatuck's pretty awesome too. So, what I really want to say now as we wrap up is that I would like to thank everybody for the fact that we didn't have to repeat the question. We got through more questions than we were expecting. And so we are done with the question portion. And I just think right now would be a nice time to give everybody a round of applause for does this in many towns, and we don't get often every single candidate show up like this, so I think that's pretty special. So thank you all for being here. Okay, so we are going to give each candidate a 2-minute closing statement, and we are going to be starting with Sherry.
Okay. In closing, I would really appreciate your vote, and what I promise to do is continue to dive into the numbers. Like I said, I'm a numbers person. I've got some flyers out there, and I have looked at payroll costs between 2019 and 2024, just the first 8 months. I've looked at our legal fees. I've looked at the Blue Star Trail, which wasn't supposed to cost us anything, and the total amounts. We need to have someone in office who's going to pay attention to this, someone who knows what they're doing, and that's what I do for a living. I would like to spend about an hour every week with our new treasurer to see what's come in and how much it is and where it's going. We need to start watching this. We need to grow ourselves. We can't keep spending money as recklessly as we have. Thank you.
I just want to thank everyone again for being here and to the League of Women Voters for putting on tonight's forum. In my first 2 terms on City Council, we surveyed residents about their top priorities and put together a strategic plan. Residents told us they wanted better cell service. We worked with Verizon and installed small cell technology. We passed an agreement to work with AT&T to use the Mount Baldhead Tower for better cell service. and hope those plans come to fruition soon. And most recently, we approved Starlink Wi-Fi to be installed at Oval Beach. Improvements at our parks were also identified as a priority, and we formed the Parks and Public Works Committee, culminating with a new playground that is a jewel in our community for all age groups and abilities, and a community build helped make that happen. New bathrooms in the upper deck at Mount Baldhead have been approved, and we look forward to seeing those improvements. We've taken a major infrastructure improvements with the completion of Campbell Road and Upper Park Street. A number of streets have been resurfaced, drainage has improved, with the next big improvements coming from Maple Street, where again we had the open house that was held today, so we have better access, hopefully for pedestrians to be able to walk safely down that street. And of course continue to replace our lead service lines. And I'm proud of the work that we've done to address the impact of short-term rentals in our community. I served on the short-term rental task force. We updated our ordinances to address nuisances like parking, garbage, and noise, and its steps to protect our neighborhoods by approving the 20% cap in our residential zones while allowing growth in our commercial and resort districts. I believe this is the right step to make sure we continue to have residents in the city of Saugatuck. Thank you for trusting me to serve on your city council. I'm proud of our accomplishments, and I will continue to work hard and hope to have your vote in November.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I am running because of the difference of opinion I have about the way the business is run and the way the issues are handled. The city council is not a tribunal. You don't get to rebuke somebody because they have a private note on their Facebook page about you. You don't get to drop a brick on the table to intimidate a person who's there to talk about their issues. People and businesses need to be treated with respect. The priorities, as we've all heard, the STRs are right up there at the top, but I go back to the waterfront. We need to preserve the waterfront. On September 19th, the Planning Commission will be working on eliminating that first floor residential. Again, because that can take away the boardwalk. A parking, definitely, and a part of that would be employee retention. If we can get the shuttle run or some kind of bus service going back and forth, that's going to help with the parking that employees take up too. The last thing I have is something that I tried to get and I never did, which was a restroom at Coughlin Park. But I want to thank you all for staying here. I think it's been very important to have these issues come out and have our ideas shown. It's the first time you've really got to look at all of us talking about different things and seeing how we think through things and seeing how we feel about the community. We're all passionate about the community. As I said before, I love it. We live here. We're so happy. I'm not negative. I'm just the opposition. I would ask for your vote. And also, on YouTube, you can listen to any one of the committee meetings so that you can see what the culture is like.
Again, thank you to everybody coming out, the League of Women Voters also for coming out tonight and putting this on for us. And I want to thank Lauren for saying we when we talk about our accomplishments, because that's my language too. It's not what I'm doing, it's what we are doing all together. It's been a pleasure to get to know and work our past councils when I was putting on events, when I was that only person, back when we didn't have all the volunteers that we do now, that we have now. And I know a lot of you remember that. And it's been a pleasure to work with everyone. I can work with anybody, and I really enjoy working with folks that do have different opinions, and I like doing it through respect. My support comes from our eclectic and diverse of residents that all have different ideals about what's best. So I'm not a black and white this and that person. I listen to everybody, and I try to listen to both sides, even if there's sides that I don't agree with. I don't give in to divisive politics and work hard to find happy mediums with issues, constantly searching for peaceful resolutions. And when you're deciding who's best to serve you, you need to ask yourself, who has involved themselves with our community? Who do you see out there the most? Who is actively engaging themselves with you? Who is always easy to approach and has experience working with the folks that have served and currently serve on City Council? Not just during a campaign for votes, because I've only been doing it for 2 years, but y'all know I've been that way for 20 years. Whether you've lived here 1 year, 5 years, 20 years, or your 5th generation, A fifth-generation local, you've seen my commitment to serve and my willingness to collaborate with all of your diverse of ideas. There's more than just one issue here. It's not just short-term rentals. It's the future of our town altogether. That's not the only issue that is going to make or break this town. And you can always check me out at G. Muncey and listen to my show on 92.7 The Band. I'll give that a little plug. And thank you.
I too would like to thank everybody for showing up. I think it's critical to have more community participation. The thing that's upset me in the last year or two, it's almost a growing animosity that you see amongst people in town, how bitter and nasty they can be over really almost trivial things. There's three key words. There's inclusivity, there's respect, and there's transparency. If you have those things, if you as a citizen feel that your voice is heard, even though maybe the decision might not go your way, you're not going to be angry. And maybe it'll make you work harder to persuade people to your point of view. But when there's an arrogance and people are treated like they're always a problem. No, I don't look at the people here as a problem. I look at everybody here as part of the solution. Because if you get everybody's input, you'll be surprised how many problems will seemingly go away without any hard feelings. And that's the thing that I would like. You want a sense of community? That's the way to get a sense of community, to make sure that everybody has their say and it means something. It counts. Thank you.
I'd like to again thank the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's event. I'd also like to thank my family who are here tonight for supporting me and the other candidates for showing up. But most importantly, I'd like to thank you, the voters, because you're the ones with the decision to make. Over the past 4 years as councilman, mayor, and mayor pro tem, I've demonstrated that we can maintain what is arguably one of the strongest financial positions of any municipality in the state, that we can invest in infrastructure and playgrounds while maintaining that financial discipline, that we can make investments that improve your safety and your quality of life, that we can balance a prosperous tourist economy with a high quality of life for full-time residents, that we can enact ordinances that protect our residential neighborhoods, our parks, and public lands, and making sure that everyone pays their fair share and acts as a good neighbor. And that we can tackle a difficult issue like short-term rentals. Again, the number one issue of this campaign, and one that my competitors seem to really not want to talk about tonight. Now, Lauren, Helen, and I don't agree on everything, but we're aligned in our commitment to keep the 20% cap in place for the next 2 years. We're the only three that have made that commitment. And we're here because we need your help. If one of us loses this election, there's a real risk the next council will have the votes to abolish the cap and water down the other regulations and fees on short-term rentals. There's a real risk that our dynamic Parks and Public Works Committee will be disbanded and city priorities will get centralized in the hands of the few, not the many. That's why I'm asking you to vote for incumbents Baldwin, Stanton, and Dean. It's a vote for stability, certainty, and the end of drama over short-term rentals. And a final word about the drama that seems to be infecting our city politics. I don't give much thought to the Facebook attacks, the weird signs, mostly in front of short-term rentals, and the strange mailers. I think about you, the handful of voters who live here, less than 900 at last count. 3 of us, the Dean family, live in the yellow house in the corner of Francis and St. Joseph. My home office is right by the front door. I'm there most days. If you're still undecided, come sit down. I'll make you a cup of tea. You can look me in the eye and decide for yourself if you trust me to lead this community for another 2 years. Thank you.
Mr. Dean.
I also want to close by thanking again the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. I really do appreciate the service. They bring neutrality and transparency to elections, and it's vital to our democracy. I don't take that for granted. I don't take our democracy for granted. I want to thank you, the voters who have invested your time to educate yourselves about the candidates tonight. I've done my best to answer your questions and address any concerns you have, and I do remain available to do so if you have any follow-up. I'm really proud of the progress we've made in the last 2 years. We took a thoughtful and comprehensive approach to short-term rental regulation. We're opening the airport property for hiking and exploration. We built a beautiful new playground in our village square. We passed new zoning rules to protect our waterfront and approved long-term overdue improvements to Mount Baldhead. We are taking steps to improve self-service and connectivity across the city, and we did all of this while strengthening our financial position. Finally, I view this candidacy as a job interview. I've hired many professionals during a long career. It's important to fully understand their experience, viewpoints, and character. When I take these items into consideration, it is clear that Mayor Stanton, Councilmember Dean, and I have the vision, the courage, and the work ethic necessary to succeed in the role, and I hope you see fit to give us the opportunity to continue the good work. Thank you.
Okay, let's give the candidates
To our candidates, to our moderator and our timekeeper, and to Jane Underwood, who helped with the logistics tonight. We really appreciate it. I hope that you've gained a lot of insight into the candidates, their thoughts, their opinions, and that will help you as you get ready to vote. Just a reminder that our video is the property of the League of Women Voters, and you cannot use the video recording of the forum or any portions of it for any political candidate campaign. Whatever. Do you ever get to that point where it's like, wait a minute, what's the next word? Most of all, please remember to vote on Tuesday, November 5th. Polls open at 7 in the morning and close at 8. And there are 2 other options for voting. All Michigan residents can vote by absentee. Absentee ballots will be available next week, September 26th. You can return them by mail and the postage is included, or you can drop them off at a drop box. If you decide to mail your absentee ballot, please have it in the mail by October 22nd to be sure that it reaches the clerk's office in time. There's a third additional way that you can vote, and that's in person at a polling station during the early voting period, which begins October 26th. So it's just like election day. You can go in and fill out a ballot and put it in the tabulator. So you've got lots of opportunities to vote. Hopefully you've learned a lot about the candidates tonight. And please remember to vote. Thank you so much for coming.